So the wonderful way that this got started, some people ask, like, how did the Hamilton Hangs happen? And it was because I missed you guys. And I was texting with Brad and I said, Brad, do you want to be a guest on a Zoom call that we're going to see what happens? And it could be up to 100 people. And he said yes. So that was last week. And this week, it was wonderful. I was messaging with Allison Fisher from Globe at Mica. And I said, I'd really love if you guys were this Friday one. She said, oh yeah. She's like, I could get Mary and I could get Bob. And I was like, oh my God, we could have all the people. But Mary is still working. So that's good. She's got a client project, so she can't join us. But we do have Bob Cicero. So I'll let you guys introduce, and maybe Allison, if you want to start. But that way you can tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Okay. I'm Allison. I think I know most of you. I'm Allison. I run Globe at Mica, but we're shut down right now, so I'm in my kitchen. My cat, who you can't see on the screen, is like flirting with me by showing me his belly, and very fluffy. So I'm working from home. I'm finishing client projects and figuring out how to do tours of Globe via Zoom, like based on this like collection of pictures that I've amassed over the last 10 years. So we'll see. I'm gonna do my first one next week and see how that goes. And yeah, trying to stay alive. My roommate teaches virtual paint nights from our living room, so it's like a tag team between me doing Zoom calls and her teaching paint nights, eating up all her broadband with. Sorry, I've gone off the rails now. Bob. So Mary Mashburn, who some of you know, some of you may not, she owns Typecast Press. She was supposed to be our third wheel on this adventure, but she's doing a client project. But she says her hellos. Brad. But I saw Mary yesterday in a drive-by cheese drop-off.
I thought we only did those in Wisconsin.
I was like, I'm going to the Italian market. Do you need anything? I was like, yes, chunk of farm. But Bob Cicero, who I think most of you know. Bob, I'm just going to introduce you and then you can talk. Bob Cicero was the last owner of Globe Poster before Mica bought the collection in 2011. And he has learned how to use Zoom. Bob, how long have you've been printing for what, 50 years?
Yeah, you don't have to say it too, but around 50 years. Somewhere around there. Yeah, I think I started when I was 2. So I'm 52. Yeah. I actually started back in 1965. I actually worked for Globe for a while. We had down there at that time just letterpress and a little bit of screen printing, and then my father was foreman for a while, took over in 1975. We bought it from the prior owner, and we ran it till 2010 or 2011. We used to screen print, did a ton of screen printing, a ton of letterpress, and we also did some offset work. And so, and I pretty much ran any press that we had down there. I ran it, fixed it. I was more production person than anything else. I used to set type, and I did everything. I used to wrap packages, whatever it took to get the poster out the door. And every now and then did some sales, but mostly I was in the back and doing production. So that was my forte, getting it out. And we used to do approximately 15, 20 posters a day, different posters, and that didn't count posters that were carnivals or commercial work. So we did a ton of work. We had maybe 15 to 20 employees at one point, and had a great time. It was a great run. I had the goods and the bads just like everybody else, and but enjoyed all the goods and the bads and embraced it. And then it came towards the end, and lo and behold, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to get rid of it. People wanted to buy certain things off the Globe, and I just couldn't let it go that way. It was too much for me. I wanted it to stay intact, and Mica came to the rescue, and actually, it was Mary and a good part of Mary and Allison who pushed everything and made it work the right way. And boy, it's great. It's great to see different eyes looking at the way Globe did. And it's like Allison is now pretty much doing a lot of the work, doing a lot of the artwork and putting the posters together. And it's been great. And I went on board with Mica, I think it was in 2011, and started teaching grads and undergrads, and totally enjoy it. I love the kids. I didn't think I would like teaching. I just always expected to be like I'm going to be fighting with the kids and all that, and didn't realize how great artists really are. They're really great people, you know, and had a great time with it. I totally enjoy it, and if I'm not there, like one day, I totally miss it. It's just like, you know, it's like I got to be there. I hate the summers. I mean, I love summers, but I hate it in a way because I'm not there. And I hate it right now. I miss what the kids are doing, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, it's about it.
Bob's makes meatballs for his class on the last day. So this class isn't getting your world famous meatballs. It really just means more for us.
We have a big dinner. I do a big, I only teach one class, so I can do it. So I'll make a big dinner at the last last day of class, and we have a big party. I love the little parties, you know, and also we all get together, and I'll make, actually Allison makes the bread, I make the meatballs, and eggplant parm. And then
he comes in, he goes, I only made, what was it, like 20 pounds of meatballs or something? We're like, I don't know if I made enough.
It was 10 pounds. 10
pounds. 2 giant crock pots of meatballs. Like, I don't know if I made enough.
Yeah.
Is it a secret family recipe so you can't share it with them?
No, it's there's nothing secret. It's the easiest thing in the world. Making, you know, just making sure everything's fresh and all. That's it. Cooking's not hard. It's just, you just gotta love to do it. If you don't love to do it, it's hard. It's impossible to do. But I do it. You know, we'll make the bread. I used to make the bread and the meatballs, and then Allison chimed in. She was going to make the bread. I said, thank God, because I get up at 2 in, because I wanted it nice and hot.
I don't get up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So, but it's been good. It's been good. How's everybody else? I don't know. Some of you, what do you guys do? I'm trying to figure it out. Is everybody? I don't want to be the center of attention. Is the way I'm saying it. Is there somebody else who wants to talk?
Has anyone printed this week?
Pardon?
Has anyone printed this week?
I made new cards yesterday.
Woo!
Oh, look at that.
Oh, it's doing weird things in the background.
Now your shop's in your back, is on your property, right?
Yeah, so I have a little barn behind my house, and all my presses and stuff are out there, and I feel really lucky that I can just print whenever I want. I've actually had a couple little jobs to do this week, like business cards and some foil stamping for people, so I feel lucky to have had that income coming in, and I can just run out and print, and like go work in the garden. And
what type of press you have?
Huh?
What type of press?
Mostly working on a Vandercook, but I have a big Colts Armory, a CMP,
Okay.
several other things.
Cool.
And I went to Mica before they had Globe. So when I was there, it was just little dolphin press.
Oh, yeah.
Room. Yeah, I think I met you a long time ago, right after you started at Mica. The American Printing History group came in. We had a little meeting there, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I missed out on all the fun.
Oh, yeah, we had a
Back
good
when
time.
we're in a fancy-ish building now that has good circulation and
Yeah, we've
adequate
got
amount of
air
space.
conditioning.
Yeah, back then the building Val was in didn't have functioning windows. It didn't have, the heat was questionable. It didn't have AC. It wasn't ADA compliant. It was like everything terrible that you could put in a building. This was the building that the printmaking department lived in. But then Mica stepped up its game a little bit and gave us a new space. Now it's pretty. Some of you have been there. Stop.
It is very pretty. Who else printed? Because I have not printed. I've been looking at the type, but not getting my hands on it.
Ben printed.
Yeah, Ben, what were you doing?
I'm in my studio now. I printed Whoops.
Oh.
Your
Aw.
kindness,
Cool.
love your neighbor.
Oh.
There's going to be 6 of them. It's something you're something, something you're something. And because people in my neighborhood are starting to post messages on windows and stuff like that. So I wanted to be able to put some signs on the window and maybe, I don't know, maybe try to sell them and raise money or something. I don't know.
Cool.
But I've been trying to come in before work every day and make something.
That's awesome. My neighbors across the street, the kids, they actually did this a while ago, but they have 2 little kids, and they drew signs and they stuck them in the window, and one of them says like "love everybody," and then the other one says "farts are funny." One of them's a boy and one of them's a girl, and you can like, I know which one did which.
They're equally important messages.
But it's true. I walk outside every day and I giggle because right across the street there's this "farts are funny" sign. Ben's are a lot more professional and a lot sweeter.
Give it time.
Yeah, by the end of this we'll be printing "farts are funny."
Yeah.
The important messages that need to get out.
Yeah, I actually can walk. I have a print shop. In addition to Globe, I have a print shop of my own that I can walk to from my house. I've jogged past it a couple times and been like, "Hello, shop," but haven't actually been there to do anything.
Are you guys allowed to be in it, or are you
Yeah,
okay? Safer
Yeah.
at home or whatever?
it doesn't really matter because I share a space with 2 other people who
Oh.
are super like locked down, but
Yeah.
I just haven't really had a reason to go.
Safe circle.
Yeah. Anyone else printing?
I'm working on a logo for a friend who is putting out a podcast called Cut the Craft. And it's going to be a craft podcast. So I don't know exactly when it's going to be out. I guess I have to finish the identity for it first. But I printed a whole bunch of type that just said "Cut the Craft" over and over again.
Nice.
Be fun.
I saw Ben has a new Heidelberg handy man. What's it titled?
It's called the Heidelberg Helper.
Thank you. How's that going?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. Last week I did a how-to on cleaning and getting your Heidelberg clutch to stop perfectly, and did that on Instagram Live, and it disappeared, and I didn't know how to re-upload it. And a guy had been nice enough to, give me a little money as thanks, and so I felt the obligation to redo it. Downloaded iMovie, and that was real easy to do some editing on, and had a good fun time doing that, and gonna do some more. So if anyone has suggestions, I think the next one is disassembling the clutch arm and lubricating it if it gets too sticky. Easy stuff, simple things that every printer should know. If you got a Heidelberg,
Yeah, who here has or works on a Heidelberg? Kim. Oh, yeah.
How about one on making turkey sandwiches? It's a joke.
bad news. I got some bad about a
I'm
turkey.
just relying on Ben every week having his lunch, so we get to that.
Daddy today,
That'll be bonus content for his Patreon members.
and a little red wine.
Right on.
What was the first one?
Spaghetti.
Oh, okay.
Rob's kind enough, and he's ordered me a tripod so I can have steady camera footage from my phone and not feel like a hoodlum anymore.
Also, so maybe he'll figure out to turn it horizontally because we're still working on that apparently.
The shade that's being thrown on the Zoom call.
I got a lot of shit for doing an Instagram video on and that's the way that format is set up, so I figured I'd do vertical. No one liked it.
I know, I think Mary Bruno does both Instagram Live and Facebook when she reads her stories. And I love that she's like on all platforms, I kept our Friday noon calls because I thought like we've got a process. And then if you haven't noticed, I've made a page with all the upcoming events, and I did other just random times. There is no rhyme or reason. It literally was like, well, let's do one at 9 a.m. and let's do one at 7 p.m. because people overseas might want to join us. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. And then we all feel better about drinking our wine. Not that we can't drink it at noon, but we can drink the 9 a.m.
hour.
Yes.
Something else to know with Zoom is you can actually stream this live to Facebook or to YouTube.
Oh.
Hit me up afterwards. I'll tell you how to do it.
Sounds good.
The ballroom where I dance, we have a Discord, which is like, and then we do like happy hour on the Discord, which is just a bunch of people yelling over each other because I can't convince them to use Zoom, so no one can see each other, and they're just drunk and yelling and chaos. But it's pretty fun.
Bob, who are you talking to? What's more important than that?
It's probably his wife.
Who, me? I'm
So-
not talking to anybody.
Oh.
No. I'm looking sideways because I have a big screen, so that's why you see me
okay.
sideways. I got 2 monitors.
Oh, you're fancy.
Yeah, well, yeah. As your eyes get older, you need the bigger stuff.
The text
No, it works better. Yeah, that's why you get a side view. How do I look? Better side view or front?
Well, and actually, while we've got Bob, we had some very important questions we did an Instagram questionnaire. The first one was from Evold, and their question was smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. So we're going to ignore that because that's not a question. They're just happy that you're going to be here. And let's see, a second question is from Mr. Brad Better in Louisville. And he says,
who is he?
He's nobody. He's nobody. And he said, how big are Bob's hands in picas, please?
I don't have a pica roll. I don't know.
When we got the Globe collection, Bob walked in. Mica has an okay collection of metal type, or at the time did. And Bob walks into the shop and he says to Mary, well, we can get rid of all of this stuff now. Why would anyone use that? But
I can't pick up. Once I have to set tight and I have to use tweezers, it's over for me. I can't do this. I can't. Everything, all the metal type we had we used to use a Ludlow machine. So we didn't use any monotype. So it was so much easier. If you drop something on the floor, you pick it up and you still had the word. You drop something on the floor with metal type, you're picking up and then have to space. We couldn't deal with that. So everything we had was Ludlow when we did it. So the wood type was just so much easier.
It's the one thing we didn't take was the Ludlow machine. And at one point, Mary almost caved and let it get on the truck. And because I remember her saying to me, if it gets on the truck, I didn't see it happen. But it was the one, Mica was not going to let us have hot pots of lead.
Yeah, well, I wanted to take the mealy too, and actually put that as a piece of art in front of the building.
Yeah, I would have loved that.
I still miss that press. I still miss it. Yeah.
He also told me that our Vandercooks were step stools to get to his press.
It's true.
We should talk to Ben down here sometimes.
We used to have presses. They were we had 6 30 by 40 inch letter presses. They were called Mealy, and they called them double lot. And then we had 2 40 by 60 4-aught Mealy presses. And they took the space of about 9.5 feet wide by almost 19 to 20 feet long.
Yeah, I've got a Mealy Pony in my garage, and it used to be a 2-car garage, and then
I know where you're going.
There's a couple Heidelbergs in there, and a Ludlow and some motorcycles, and I got no room. No car.
So what kind of
a barn?
What kind of Heidelbergs do you have? Are they the cylinder presses or the windmills? 10 by 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Allison, the problem with a barn is you just need a bigger barn.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Or a second barn.
Or a second barn. Well, I'm looking into maybe putting an annex on the side of it someday. So second barn, yeah.
Second.
I,
A barn with a bump it.
I have a little bit of space on my property, and so I had an architect draw up plans for a attached workshop, and quickly realized that while I could kind of afford paying for an architect to draw up plans, I could not, in fact, pay for those plans to be built. So, got plans.
Big plans, right? Future, like one day when we're all rich.
Yeah, God. You know, having money with
You probably shouldn't be a printer then.
I was just going to say, printing is definitely the path to riches.
like that you can only see like this much of Cellini.
Because I like my sister. It says hello. Right?
She has a legit background. It's real.
Priorities.
Are you in a crawl space, Selene?
Yes, I call my apartment the garret because I live in an attic apartment. So the roof is mainly sloped, but this is like under the eaves. And so the ceiling is sloped, but it's like maybe 6.5 feet tall high. It's
so you can't stand.
I can, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would have an issue. Yeah, we haven't been able to be in the shop for 2 weeks. So
How are all those jobs just stacking up now? Is stuff gonna get canceled?
Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, most of the work that we do at Hatch is live entertainment and requires the gathering of more than 10 people. So, or an artist who's willing to go on stage and get on an airplane and travel and whatnot. So most of them have been postponed, actually. It sounds like if all things go according to as planned, June is going to be a spectacular month for live entertainment across the country. So prepare now to be out every night if you like it. That's what we keep hearing. June, we're going to be in June. We'll be there in June. Okay. So we're just moving everything forward. We got a couple of crazy clients who are, we have one client who's constructing something who's apparently on task because I guess construction is an essential business. But and then one person who's celebrating a birthday, so we'll have to sneak in.
They're not gonna postpone their birthday.
Oh hell no! I think his birthday is July 4th. I could be wrong.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have like I can go through some. I can ask nicely to get in the building. Do you guys have some of those same privileges?
Yeah. We just have tried to avoid it because we're in a building that has an 850 room hotel as well as a museum, and actually also has a venue in it. And I know the museum has been hustling to do a deep clean, and that's required a ton of additional staff and whatnot. And so trying to be as low key as possible for them to do all of that makes them feel more comfortable. But yeah, we're all getting a little antsy. Everybody has there are 8 full-time designer printers that work at Hatch, and pretty much all of them volunteer to go in whenever for however long is necessary because they're so stir crazy, which is great. But, yeah,
Who's taking care of the cat?
Security.
Oh.
We have 24-hour security, yes. And I think they were already sneaking in to say hi to the cat, the overnight shift. So this just legitimizes their visits.
Professional cat feeders. I should have brought my shop plants home.
Oh yeah. We don't have any.
No, I have a poinsettia from Christmas that I've kept alive.
Wow. Good job.
We get a lot of sun. But yeah, Micah's like, we're shut down. We're just hanging out. But I have enough work to last me until forever, so it'll be fine. All the other employees are being like reassigned not fun tasks, like if they have campus specific jobs. And I was like, no, I'm good.
Paint the buildings.
I'm not gonna make phone calls for you. Like they're reassigning them, like, because they're worried about all of the undergraduate students, because now is the time where they're all submitting deposits. And so if we don't have a class for next year, we don't have jobs.
Right.
So they're like phone banking with all this extra staff that they now have. They've guaranteed to pay for another month.
What's happening with graduating students this semester? I've been wondering that about schools here too.
Ours is up in the air. So Mica has, starting what should have been like next week, all the graduates start doing their commencement exhibit, like thesis exhibitions, all the graduate students. So those have been postponed and they're moving into digital platforms. And then, but with undergrads, we have in May, they have Art Walk, which is like every undergrad installs an exhibition across campus. And they convert like all of the buildings into gallery space. It's a huge production. And that has not been determined yet. They're trying to decide if they're going to bring it all online, which they don't really want to do because it's not fair to the students who basically spend 4 years working towards this thing, or if they're going to push it to the summer. It's all kind of up in the air. They're going to start making those calls in the next coming weeks, but it's going to depend a little bit on how what's happening in Maryland.
Towson's pushed back the commencement ceremony. I know the grad art students, some of them have already done their exhibitions, but the ones that haven't, I don't know if they've decided what they're doing about it yet. But they're not having a commencement ceremony in May. They're going to push it back sometime. But everything is just crazy up in the air.
I think that's what Mica's looking at too, is like if they can push it to the summer, but it's unknown. And they've been kind of like, we have to figure out the most, like Mica's big thing, like their thing is like, we have to figure out the class stuff first and like get everybody teaching again. And then they'll figure out the rest of it. But there's so much like, we just don't have the like digital infrastructure to deal with this. So like we barely, up until December, we were still submitting every payment form like on paper, like everything that got done on campus was done with paper. And like the one saving grace is that we switched to a digital platform. So people are still like, bills are still getting paid, because otherwise we'd all just be like sitting at home with stacks of paper with nobody to sign them or process them. So anyway, we're figuring it out.
Canceled their commencements already.
Who did?
Ball State. So they've emptied out campus, closed down all the labs, and said nothing will happen the rest of the year there. So everything is online. So
yeah, they sent all of our students home as of yesterday, and there's 37 who are left on campus, but those were like students where they have nowhere to go, like a lot of international students.
yeah, I think yesterday they had like 108 left, but anybody that could leave was gone. And then they came out like 2 days ago and said they were just canceling commencements for the spring. People will graduate, just won't have the walk.
That sucks. I'd be kind of devastated if that was my like end of my 20 years of going to school or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, they did the same thing in Santa Fe. They've closed things down until at least summer. And they said sometime in late June they'll reassess.
Yeah, same here with ours.
Yeah, it's a weird time, that's for sure.
At CU Boulder, like I'm a grad student there right now. They shut down everything except for research that would have like lost all of its data, or there were like live animals involved. And my program is off campus, so I think I still have access to our studio, which I only care because we have like 3D printers and CNC routers and stuff. which is like a huge part of some of our classes. So hopefully we can still get in there and access it. But it's been kind of weird. And my program's accelerated, so it goes through August.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, so everything's been on Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go to Kent State University. I'm a grad student there, and they told everyone that we had to be out of the Visual Arts Center completely, like at the beginning of March. So we haven't even been able to like go in and grab anything like materials or anything.
David, you okay? That sucks. Yeah, our students, like, they were like, everyone needs to be out of their studios, and it went from being they were supposed to have this 2-week intensive making period that was supposed to end today to like get all their thesis work done, and then they were like, once they confirmed a case in Baltimore City, they just shut the whole thing down. As far as I'm aware, the only people that are on campus are like essential personnel, so like building technicians, and the people who run the 3D printers. Because Baltimore, there was a call for the hospitals so there's this place called OpenWorks, which is like a maker's fabrication studio, and the hospitals asked them to fabricate headbands for face shield. And so OpenWorks put out a call for 3D printers to get the bands printed, because that's the bottleneck in the making process. And they identified like 250 3D printers to get these masks printed. And so Mica has 10 or 15 of them on campus. So there's techs there running those.
They're doing that in San Francisco at Academy of Art. I'm not sure exactly what they're printing, but my partner is actually home doing tutorials with a 3D printer he took home from the school. But there's somebody who is going into the lab to do the printing there as well.
Yeah, Faith is doing the same.
Yeah, we cleared out our glove backup supply and took that to the county, so that we figured we can get gloves in whenever we need gloves. So it was only 16 boxes, but wasn't going to be cleaning any type lately. So
yeah, we did. Kyle Van Horn from Baltimore Print Studios is Mica's technician, and he did the same thing. He's like, do you have any gloves that I don't know about? And I was like, yeah, there's a box under the table.
Yeah, all the stashes got cleaned out.
Yeah. So we live in a crazy world, folks.
I know.
Ben's been there for a while. It's fine.
Yeah, but mine's of my own making. This is different.
Yeah, if you made this, we'd need to have a very long chat with you, Ben.
Yeah. Geez, I need to have a little heart-to-heart with myself in the mirror.
Is anyone working on anything? Does anyone have anything that they've started as a result of not being able to do their normal routine?
100%. I started my little Heidelberg Helper series, which was nice to do one of. I'm finishing like 1,000 projects at my house and starting more. I own a late 1800s, basically neighborhood corner store bodega style building, like any of them that you see in Chicago, basically that. But it's inside of a neighborhood, so it's insulated from most traffic. But it was split into a duplex, and so I've been renovating that for a couple years now. And I just never got around to patching some drywall. Never got around to patching. I built an IKEA sink this morning, and it worked on the first try. Felt pretty good about it. I know, right?
Yeah.
I think you get like a gold star for that.
Yeah, really.
Doing some woodworking that I've been putting off and wanting to do for a while. Feeling good. This feels like a vacation that I've needed for a while. Despite the circumstances, I'm having a nice time.
Yeah, is there anybody else that's been up to something new that they've been wanting to do?
I learned how to do websites, because now Tribune's been closed about a week and a half. So started doing that and updating Tribune's website. And then something Rob and I had been talking about for a long time was proofing all the wood type, which is a large undertaking, and measuring it all, and then him building a build your own poster in the most simplistic form possible. People could put, like happy birthday, Jim, or a saying or something like that they could just build online, and then it would come to us as an order, and we'd set it pretty much exactly how they had, and people could print it. So we last Saturday took a few volunteers into the shop and grabbed one of most everything in the wood type collection. So our car was full of A through Z and all that for everything that we have. Mostly we recalled some things we forgot, but so I'm going to start proofing all that at home. So we just brought a little sign card home and some ink, and the dining room now is full of wood type and a sign card. So who needs a dining room table, right? So that'll be the big undertaking.
I got more chickens. I wasn't planning on it, but on a whim, I got 6 more chickens. So baby chicks. Look at my Instagram stories if you need a daily dose of baby chickens.
I'm watching your chickens.
We've been talking about getting chickens, and I think that this is like accelerating that idea. Like,
oh my God, it's
okay,
so
I'll
fun.
start building a coop right now.
We're all gonna be. I thought I was gonna get chickens for here. I would love that, but we've got too many bobcats and coyotes in our neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a drag.
I know. We're all going to start homesteading by the end of this.
We can start. I've been doing that for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Tammy and Adam keep talking about building a commune in Iowa. I think we should all just work on that.
I'm in.
Start small.
Hey, look, there they are.
They heard their names. Theirs were
I didn't see you earlier. Hi.
Yeah, there's a second page, you guys. I didn't know this. I'm learning still. There's a second page. If you go to the right side, you can see the other half of the people who are here.
Oh, hello, everybody.
Hi, way more people.
I was just looking at myself the whole time.
That's so funny.
No surprise.
How do we block that?
Oh, we will.
I just have a piece of tape over.
I do love that if we start our own like communes, we will have like the chickens, and we will have the power to communicate to everyone, because we're going to overwhelm Zoom. Like at some time, Zoom's they're just not going to be able to have the entire world on Zoom.
Right.
I mean,
but
they
letterpress
survived it
printers,
this far,
which is amazing, right? Like, anyway, I think it's amazing.
This whole setup looks like Hollywood Squares. When you start looking at it.
I want to be up.
Yeah.
I had this fantasy when I was doing beer group last night that people would go from one box to the other.
You move the boxes?
I swore I saw it happen, but it didn't.
I'm trying to move, but I can't get over. Oh, God.
We started Zoom game night. So if anybody's bored, watch. We're trying to set up a trivia too. So it ends up being most people just making fun of each other, but that's a lot of fun.
Oh, we don't do that here.
Jackbox on
That's
Zoom
not
the other
done
night.
here.
That's what we were doing too.
Bob, have you been fishing?
No, the fishing season is ready to start. In fact, April's when, well, actually they pushed it off to May. We've had a bad record of number of rockfish here. So everything's been pushed off. I got to pull my boat and get it cleaned and everything like that. And I pushed that off. So no, I haven't done anything. I'm really ticked off. It's, but there's certain things I got to do, and I can't get it done. So, the boat's sitting out right out front, and I'm just, it's like, okay, I need to walk to it and do something. I might just get in the boat and take off for a little bit. But I got barnacles on the bottom, so I'm not going to go too far.
Yeah.
I've got that problem too, but it's from sitting and playing video games.
Man, I'm pissed because it's just starting to be morel season here, and all my spots are in the Baltimore City Reservoir areas, and they're all closed. So if I want to sneak in, there's a chance that I might get arrested. So I probably shouldn't do that.
I think morels should count as essential things, though.
I agree.
Has anybody cooked anything creatively with what you have?
I've been making pesto with weeds from my garden.
I would call that creative. I don't think I've ever cooked with a weed before, so you are like way past me.
Yeah, it's use garlic, mustard, bitter cress, daylilies, blended in a food processor. It's delicious. I'll put my foraging Instagram on here if anybody wants to.
Cool. Please do.
Learn how to live off the land once the end times come.
There was this really great PBS short series in maybe the late 80s, 90s called I Eat Weeds and Trees. And this guy would go around and he would dig up things from his garden and show you how to make a tea from a root or what you can just eat off the ground. Everyone should Google it. It was a great series. There's maybe only a few episodes, but it was dynamite. I Eat Weeds and Trees.
I've been wanting to take classes, but I don't see anything in town.
Huh?
Binging with Babish and Food Wishes on YouTube, both have YouTube channels, have both been doing, there's like episodes this week have been like things you've probably hoarded at home, like beans and rice. So they've been like doing kind of cool videos of like what you do when you get to the bottom of the pantry, like things you can do with chickpea juice, whatever it is, aquafaba.
Aquafaba.
I like aqualava.
Alton Brown has been doing a series as well.
Ooh.
I saw where he failed to saber the top off his wine bottle. It was pretty spectacular.
Did he just shatter the whole bottle?
Pretty much. The whole top just sheared, like, glass everywhere.
Blade's back. We haven't run out of cat food yet, but we're getting close.
Cat food doesn't taste terrible.
Recent experience, Selene?
Yeah.
How dire are things in Nashville?
So we used to have 2 cats. We now have 1 cat, Mao, just for those of you who haven't been to Hatch in a while. And I got her some organic food from Trader Joe's and she wouldn't eat it. So I had to taste it to see why. And it did taste a lot worse than the other cat food. So
you tried the other stuff too, huh?
Did a taste comparison?
I could have done a review. Yeah. I was surprised that the Trader Joe's was so not good.
Not too late to do a review. The product review of that.
Future hangout.
Yeah, I was hoping we would learn interesting things on these hangouts. That's not one of the things I thought we would learn.
Or how to make pesto from weeds.
I know, right?
That is a pro tip.
Maybe cat food from weeds. Can you make cat food from weeds?
I would think
I don't know. I know you can make cat food from mice.
Oh yeah. Cats eat grass and plants anyway, so I mean at least our cats do.
Yeah.
Onions are super toxic to cats, so don't feed them onions. I learned that.
Right, I had heard that daylilies were also, that lilies in general could be really dangerous to dogs and cats.
Yeah, it can cause liver failure or kidney failure, some major organ that they need failure. But like just they don't even have to consume them. The problem with lilies is the pollen can get on their fur, and if they lick it, it can cause pretty serious damage.
Yeah, anytime we drop an onion in the house, I have to, or like a bit of an onion while I'm making things, David's like, stop, find the onion. I'm like, well, that's not going to hurt Marcel. Oh, but it could hurt Marcel. So we find every onion that drops on the floor ever.
There's Marcel.
Yeah, I opened the door earlier because he was scratching to get in, and then he wandered off. I was too boring.
That's how Harold lives. I had to get up a minute ago to yell at Floyd because there's a stick of butter on the counter, and Floyd is a butter licker. And while normally very well behaved, not when it comes to fat products. Right, bud?
So butter liquor is going to be my new insult for people, by the way.
My new one is a wet ramen sandwich.
Ooh.
Does anyone have a print around them they'd like to share? My wall is bare, but everything's sitting on the floor behind me, so that's what made me think about it. I have a Wolfsky. It's gonna go up soon. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Whoa, framed
I don't
and
remember its name.
pretty.
Wait. Stutter number 6.
Oh.
Yeah. He has them all really nicely photographed on his website. They look way better, even better in person, though.
Does everyone need to go find their Wolski? I see Ben found one. I'm like, I know it's over there.
Well, what's that? Wait, who's that? Molly, what do you
Molly.
Hi. I played this show in February with a band that I'm in, and so I made this hatch style poster for it. And I did like 40 prints on white paper and then just a couple on black paper for the extra special goth version.
That looks great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. Doing things like playing shows was fun. We'll maybe get back to that someday.
I have more. I have my, sorry, this is my Graham Lee collection chicken. And I really like it because the chicken's holding a bag with a chicken. So it's like super, isn't that like, what's that meta or whatever, where it like just keeps becoming smaller and smaller.
I also have a chicken.
Yeah! Who also has a chicken?
Val, you got some
connect the dots.
I got lots of chickens. If you're ever trying to buy a
Mary, what do you have?
It's a
Mary,
Wolfsky.
what's
Familiar?
Mary Mortimer.
80 days.
It's that guy.
Ooh, I see a fancy shirt right back at you, Celini.
Oh, fancy.
I like that this is like print tic-tac-toe. Like how many connected dots?
It's not a print, but I have this poster from Tate Foley. Wait.
Oh, you're just.
Hold on, it's not working. Hold on.
Wait, Krista has one.
Yeah, this is a Cindy Iverson, Central Print.
Oh, yes. I love her work.
Yeah, me too. I wish she was here.
I know. Well, I might have to start to do personal invites. We haven't sent out a Hamilton newsletter since we started doing these, so we'll see.
Yeah. And then this is a woodcut that I've been working on since like
Holy cow.
November.
Yeah.
So, but it's going very slowly because the hair, I have to carve the hair last, and it's my least favorite part. So,
how big is that?
It's
sizable.
It is sizable. It's like 22 by 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is my new mushroom reduction woodcut. It's 2 blocks with 9 colors.
Nice. Ooh.
Don't eat all the mushrooms, you'll die.
Look, Kimberly has Stephanie's print.
Woo. It's tiny. Hey, yeah, I did that for an APA print. Hey, Michaela has a me print. Yay!
It's a James Acaster quote from Great British Bake Off.
Yes, does anybody know James Acaster? He's a really good British comedian. I highly recommend him. That's another Stephanie print. I feel the love right now.
I like that one. We have a bunch of posters hung up in our house, and this is one of my favorite ones. I can't see, so.
Ooh.
Boobies.
I'll put stars there in the recording.
Yeah, you're welcome, Stephanie.
I know. I feel like every time we
place.
do these, someone's trying to be like, what can we put in there that will make it difficult for Stephanie to put this on the internet?
We have to keep this PG.
Our board are going to be like, Stephanie, who are the people you hang out with at Hamilton?
Here's my print now that you can see it. It's by Tate Foley at Webster University. Ben!
Oh man, it accidentally stopped recording a minute ago. No, I'm just kidding.
That's awesome.
I love that. I have one of those. They sent me one of those 0 Days Without a Rainbow roll as well. And it's like,
yeah, that's super fitting for you all too.
So many rainbow rolls. It's been
I rock those rainbow rolls all the time.
It's the one
Do
nice
people not use rainbow rolls? That's the question. Like,
This one's from Space Camp Printing. Is that them in West Virginia?
Oh yeah.
I just really like it. I think they used it for something else, but then they carved this really nice type, and I thought it was really lovely. It's also one of my goals for my students is to get them to work with their hands and get them off the computer. So it's like my class motto right now. Okay, I'm done.
No, I like it. We'll do share and tell or show and tell at some point. Yeah, maybe that'll be the last couple of minutes. Ooh, David brought it up a notch.
Whoa! Wait a minute.
B
is that.
That's a 50 Cicero Aurora condensed B from a font of Italian type.
Ooh,
nice.
I've had two quite large fonts of Italian type sitting in boxes for 2 years, so I'm just getting around to proofing them.
Wow.
Do you need to bring that down to type high? Aren't they high?
I can't actually print it on the Vandercooks without removing all of the packing. And even then, because my cylinder undercut is 040, so I can only use like a sheet of tracing paper or 1 sheet of bond with no cylinder packing. Or I can put it on my linoscribe without a bed plate or a galley.
Rob, have you guys been taking type down to American Type High? Or maybe Adam? I know Scott does.
Scott and Adam do it.
Yeah.
and I took a whole 50 line Aurora down to type high at Scott's.
Okay.
I mean, David, you could just send it to us. We have an adjustable bed.
Yeah. or you could send me your adjustable bed.
It took Kim about 9.5 hours to use Scott Moore's block pointer to bring everything down to type high in our like 5A font of the 55 line Aurora.
Yeah, I think I'll just save up for an adjustable bed press.
So actually, we have to congratulate someone who just got a press this week, and I think I'm allowed to say it. Nod your head if that's okay. Yeah? Okay.
Scroll through.
No? So Michaela, who is on this call, is one of our volunteers, and she just got a Vandercook press.
Whoa!
Congratulations.
Where's it coming from?
Sheboygan. It was kind of crazy actually because this whole thing happened really fast and it just came here on Saturday. So kind of like right on the borderline between when things kind of started shutting down. So it was kind of crazy the way it all worked out.
What kind of Vandercook is it?
It's a universal one with a power carriage.
Cool. We have one of those.
Does it have an adjustable bed too?
It does not.
Ah. Is it in your house with you?
It's in our garage.
Woohoo!
It's kind of, yeah. I've kind of been, my project has been to kind of decrust it because I guess it was in a hoarder's basement for a while. So it's kind of pretty crusty. So that's been my project.
Very cool.
Congratulations. It's so exciting.
If you have questions on that's the version of Vanderkirk I have, just with that power carriage.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, it's a little funky, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we have one of those at Mica. I'm totally illiterate though, so I'm not useful. I'm scared.
Don't email me.
Oh yeah. No, I was printing last week. I was like desperately trying to get a batch of prints done, and I heard something was making a funny noise, and I was like, please don't break, please don't break, please don't break. And then a screw rolled out across the floor, and I was like, pardon my friend. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's okay. And I texted Kyle, and he was like, well, it's not, our press is painted the world's ugliest shade of gold. And I was like, it's not gold, so it's not from the outside, it's somewhere from underneath. I was like, it'll be fine. Well, and then like 2 seconds later, I hear like, and I was like, and it was like this piece inside the cylinder that like is the thing that keeps stuff from getting stuck to the drum had like come undone. I'm super lucky I did not run it over because it's a powered press and it would have just like smushed whatever was in its way.
I'm only laughing, Allison, because we often hear things like things dropping out of presses as we're running them. We have a Vanderkirk Universal 3 that's got a carriage, and it does the same thing. And so everybody in the shop says, stop, and then we have to go find the thing and determine where it came from. So that's why I was laughing, because I'm like, that's every other day almost, some weeks.
Well, typically
you can, just as Ben said, you can actually over oil your presses.
Yeah.
And then things start to back out.
Yeah. Well, normally when something goes down in the press, I just go to Kyle and I'm like, Kyle, I broke it, make it better. But Kyle wasn't there, so I had to figure it out myself.
So I kind of had a question for everyone, and I'm sort of worried that it's going to be somewhat taboo. But I live in Montana, and so I've actually never been to Hamilton Ways Goose or like any of these meetups with any of you. Like most of you I've never met in person. But I'm curious what all of you thought about the wire bids auction that just ended this week.
Oh, did anybody get anything?
Oh, I didn't see it. What was on it?
Tons of wood.
Is it legitimate? I want to know if it's legit.
What do you mean?
Bob's is legit. They're in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it like, is it like a certain stipend? Like it doesn't really mean $65, it means something else?
Well, there is a hammer fee. We've bought a lot of stuff from the Bogs over the years. They're really nice people.
Yeah, I have two.
Yeah,
Very cool. Good to
if
know.
you buy equipment from them, it's not terribly expensive to get it delivered.
Yeah, that's the thing we were wondering about, was how much shipping was.
I was freaked out about shipping, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to Nashville. We'll just drop this off." And I paid like $50 to have 2 like tight cabinets delivered. From
She's looking like the Cheshire cat. She keeps disappearing.
So the Bogs buy stuff from all over the country, and they have truck routes that go a lot of different places. So they usually can get pretty close to you.
Wait, what was your concern about the wire bids?
Oh, I don't have any, like, I think I bought my Reglet cabinet from them. It's just like, so I'm on job attached unemployment right now, so I can't afford anything. But like, I was just watching the prices, and one of the Reglet cabinets went for $410, and I was just like aghast. So
I haven't purchased anything from them, but a former student of mine bought a font of wood type, and then what was delivered was not what he paid for.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, that
Were
seems
they
like
able to fix that?
No.
I've seen those auctions fluctuate a ton. And I'm sure maybe you guys have the same opinion. Sometimes things go for insane amounts of money. And then like at Christmas time, I bought a beautiful font of like a really condensed Clarendon for like less than $200. But then I've seen cases of Gothic go for like ungodly amounts of money.
Everybody's probably at home bored with nothing to do, and they're like, "Ooh, all this wood type," and probably just slammed the auction. I mean, there was a lot too, so they must have maybe had a wider audience somehow. But yeah, it did seem like a lot. And I have beef with them because there was a print shop in Baltimore that was closed, and I paid for a corner rounder, and I was out of town when they had like kicked everything out, and I sent a friend to pick it up for me, and Boggs tried to steal it even though I'd already paid for it. Ooh. But I did get it, so it's fine.
Really, what we should be doing though is consulting with each other before we're all bidding against each other, because Mary Mashburn and I have done that where we're bidding against each other and then realize it's the same person. She also did that with Jason and his cylinder press. She was the one that was bidding him up, and then finally was like, "This is too much money," and bought the smaller one. And when we met Jason, he was like, "Yeah, I bought it on Boggs," and she was like, "How long ago?" And she was like, "Sorry, that was me bidding you up. Didn't know."
I actually did that at a live auction with Paul Aiken, who I love, and I couldn't see him, and I was like, I am going to get this type. And then I suddenly like went around the corner. I was like, oh yeah, you can have it. Oh, that extended slab serif. I will miss you and dream of you.
Yeah. I mean, in Montana, it's like all the good stuff is in the Midwest and the East Coast. So I just like covet things from very far away.
You're on a little island there.
As someone on the East Coast, it's all in the Midwest.
Oh, okay. All right. It's in the Midwest.
Yeah.
It's closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on Boggs right now, and they have presses up on sale. A couple Heidelbergs. I can't believe the price on the Heidelberg windmills. They got them. They got one here for $9.99. That's really cheap.
Bob, did you buy your Heidelbergs new?
No, never bought any. No, we never bought anything new. Well, we could have bought the Mealies in 1900. No, we couldn't have bought them. They were 1908. No. We had 3 Heidelbergs when we closed. We had 2 red balls and 1 black. But then just about all my equipment, except for when I went bought a UV printer. I mean a UV dryer for screen printing. That was new. But everything else.
The one we set on fire.
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah. What happens is when those UV lamps get so hot, sometimes the cardboard will curl and get caught up in the lamp, and all of a sudden you have a fire, and you're out there running, and people like come out and they take a look at it, and they're running each way, and I just grab the thing and throw it in the grass. Well, it'll happen again. That was one of the problems with UV dryers. They'll actually catch things on fire if the cardboard goes up and hits the lamp, because those lamps are really super hot. Doesn't take much to set them off.
When we were packing, we were halfway through moving Globe out of its location, and we were finishing one final job for the Lincoln Center. That the screen printing was getting done at Globe and the letterpress was going to get run at Mica. And I was standing at the end of the screen. It was an automated press, and I was standing at the end catching boards as they were coming off. And I was like, Bob, they're getting stuck. Bob, it's smoking. Bob, they're on fire. And he comes over with a broom and is like fishing them out. And now he's holding like 6 flaming posters. And there was the art director for Lincoln Center was on the other side of the wall doing an interview, like a film interview. And he's wearing a white leather Prada jacket.
What the hell do you do with a white jacket and a letterpress studio? Why would you even attempt?
And I go like, running because I was like, Mary was like, somebody was like, go get some water. And so like I ran to the front office because I was like, I'm gonna go grab a garbage pail from the front office. It's least likely to have solvent in it. We don't need a chemical fire. And so I go running past and we're like, shh. And I run up to the front and Mary's husband is like on his phone. Like, what's wrong? And I was like, fire. And I come back and it's like just burned posters. And Mary's like, we gotta get out of here. We gotta get this stuff out of here before we set the building on fire. So
I think fire in letterpress shops is a good spot to end today.
I just wanted to throw something out. If anybody's in the market for presses, you should reach out to Daffy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's probably going to be needing the income.
Who's Daffy? I don't know.
Daffy is in Switzerland. Daffy Kuna. He's last I checked, he had an FAG available and a Vandercook 219.
Wow.
I wonder what the shipping on getting something like that across the ocean is.
I know Amos has done it, and I don't think it's as cost prohibitive as you would think because they can work with carriers that deal with large shipping crates.
Yeah, it would probably be the prices he's asking for those presses. It would probably still be cheaper than a domestic.
Yeah.
Dang.
I gotta get my bigger barn first.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, David, for that. I put Daffy's name over in the right-hand corner if you guys need it. Okay, well, I want to say thank you all for joining. It was a wonderful chat. And then we've got a list on our website, and we'll put it on both our Facebook and our Instagram accounts. And there will be a Hamilton e-newsletter coming out in the next week or two. And so you can see all the upcoming ones, and I'll try to do a Google Calendar event so you can just save it if you want. So anyway, thank you so much for coming. I will see you all next week. Yeah.
I'll see
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Sorry, Amy, I
Bye.
told you to come and then.